So I'd just like to say how happy I am for all of the comments you guys have been leaving me. Unbelievable. All of my little list of videos talking about Rufus and why Rufus broke up, and talking about Sweet Thing and how that song was written. And, all of them, just so many cool comments coming in. Thank you guys so much. I'm glad to share these stories, and I'm glad you guys are all looking at them and, forming opinions. So I just want to let you know, I always tell the truth. I do not make this up. These are real stories. I was in Japan. I moved from Los Angeles to Japan in 1985 for 10 years, 85 to 95. I decided, you know what, let me go to Japan, because I had met some people there, and I met a nice lady there too. And I said, let me go to Japan, and I'll spend some time there and shake all this stuff in LA off and kind of regroup. Sometimes you have to do that. You have to regroup your life. And I got lucky. Around that time, I was thinking about what to do and how to do it. I got a call from this guy, Larry Giddens. And Larry Giddens was a trumpet player for Stevie Wonder's band. And he called me. He said, Bobby, I got a gig going to Sweden. They want to bring all of Stevie's band over to back up a Swedish singer for a month or two. Just Stevie was off too right during that time. And he said, I said, what about Nate? He said, well, Nate doesn't want to go. He doesn't, want to be away from his family in Detroit, so he doesn't want to go. Do you want to take his place? And I said, yeah, because, actually, I'm planning to do something, and this will really help me out. I began the process of putting my house up for sale, packing up, selling my pool table and everything in the house, packing up my stuff and, storage, and got ready for that trip, went to Sweden. We were there for a long time. We played for a young pop singer, Dan Egelberg or something. Dan, he was very popular in Sweden, and people loved him. He had a big hit. It was great. They paid us. The guy paid very well. And my plan was to stay in Sweden and finish the gig and go from Sweden to Japan, because I was right there in Europe. And it worked out. As soon as that tour was over, me and my 360 acoustic bass amp and my 2 Fender basses ended up moving to Japan from Sweden. I never went back to the U.S. But long story short, I was in Japan. I was living there, and I married my girlfriend, and just started a new life in Japan, and it was great. And I got work right away because, foreign musicians, the artists there love to have foreign musicians, not only in their live bands, but recording with them. So I got a lot of session work, and I got a lot of gigs right off. I mean, no waiting. Had a good start. Well, this guy that I knew about.
He has no bones.
Roger Troutman, young kid, so cool. I mean, he played keyboards and he did the talk box, and talk box is when you playing the keyboard or guitar, and the tube comes from the amplifier into your mouth. And so instead of the sound coming out of the guitar or the keyboard, the sound comes out of your mouth through the tube. And so you can mouth it, tell me something good, you know what I mean? So Roger was a king. He was so good using that talk box technique on with his band called Zap. And they had big hits, and you know, Roger became really popular. I loved him, man. He was so fresh and talented and cool and alive on stage. You know, he stirred everything up, and so he was playing, and I told my wife, "Hey, let's go. I want to go see Roger. Come on, let's go see him." And I went and I hung out. Me and my wife, we hung out, and it was just cool. And he was up there. He was jamming, and it was fun, and we were jamming. And so I went over to the guy by the backstage. I said, "Hey, could you tell Roger? Hey, tell Roger that Bobby Watson from Rufus is here. If he's got a minute, come out and say hi. You know, after he's done." So I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll tell him." So we're watching the set, and set's over. So I'm standing there with my wife, and she said, "Let's go. What are you waiting for?" I said, "Hold on a minute. I think I get a chance to meet Roger." And so Roger comes out. Most of the people in the club had left. He finally comes out, and he found me. He said, "Hey, Bobby Watson. Hey, man." He said, "Man, you're the cat, man. You know, yeah. Hey, you know, I love Rufus, man. I love you guys." He said, "I love all your music. You know, I studied you guys." And I'm like, "Come on, man. I'm your fan. It's your gig." And we laughed and we talked, and he told me a bunch of stuff about his family and, you know, and how they were doing, and and he said, "Oh, by the way," he said, "Man, tell Tony Maiden, man. Tony Maiden inspired me using the talk box on tell me something good." And I said, "Oh, Roger, man." I said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry, man. I hate to break your dream, but that wasn't Tony. That was a guy named Al Siner, who was in the Rufus band before Tony and I joined. So there was another guy that did that." He said, "Really? That wasn't Tony?" I said, "Yeah, no, that was Al Siner. You know, when you get back, you know, to the States, go look at your album, check the cover, make sure you find out that that is not Tony, but that's Al." He said, "Oh, okay, cool. I'll check in. I'll check out. Maybe I'll get in touch with Al and thank him." I said, "Yeah, man, yeah, right on." So we were talking for two. I looked over at my wife by the doorway like, And Roger also had one of his fans, a tall, beautiful Japanese girl waiting. And then my wife and her, they were both sitting close to each other by the door, and they were both like, So after we talked for about 2 hours about everything, music, you know, Shaka, Tony, and Rufus, and the songs and the grooves and everything, his family, and he mentioned too a little bit about trouble in his family, but everything was still moving on. And then I later found out that he got killed. His brother took his life, which was a very, very sad event, to happen. Such a young guy, talented. I don't know the whole story. Something about him possibly leaving the group and going on his own solo, but that's hard to stop. I mean, he was already guesting on other things, It just was so fantastic. You can't hold that stuff back. So anyway, I was sad to hear that, but it was a great experience spending a couple of hours with Roger Troutman at that club in Tokyo that one time. And I lived in Tokyo. I actually had a chance to meet a lot of groups that came over there because I I lived there, and everybody touring stopped in Japan for a show or two before the tour went on to other places. I got to meet Madonna because Jonathan was her from Michael Jackson's drummer, was playing with Madonna. And so when they came, he called me, Bobby, come down and hang out. I went out, met Madonna and all the guys in her band. And also met Sade. I had met her drummer in LA, who was a friend of Andre Fisher's in third row seats, middle, center, third row seats. Me and my wife watching Sade, and went backstage and met all the band. It was kind of neat living in Japan. I saw all these artists, Stevie Wonder, of course, every time Shaka came, I went to see her and took pictures and hung out and stuff. Of course, we hung out, but got to meet a lot of people that I would not normally have met being in LA, because, it just was, Japan's different. So that was kind of cool. And another little story that I want to tell you guys was, we started going to this club in LA called Mavericks Flat. And Mavericks was a new scene. It was a new club, and the guys that owned it, they really were just like so hip and cool and modern, and they had vision that nobody in LA had. These guys were so cool. And they made this club right on Crenshaw Boulevard. And Tony said, man, you got to come to Mavericks with me. You can get the gig playing with this band I'm in, the Rhythm Rebellion. The bass player we have now is good, Lonnie, but I think you're better than him. So come on, go with me over to Mavericks. And so I said, okay, yeah. So I grabbed my bass, and Tony, we get on the bus. Nobody had cars then. We get on the bus, we go down Central to Vernon, go over to Crenshaw, turn right, and Mavericks is right there at the next bus stop. And I'm on the left side of the bus, so I can see out the window and I can see the buildings go by. And Tony goes, that's Mavericks right there. So the bus is going by Mavericks, and I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm going, wow, who is that? And I saw Steve McQueen, the actor. He was leaning on a parking meter, smoking a cigarette. I knew it was him because the blonde hair and his face. I knew that was Steve McQueen. I said, what? Tony said, what? I said, Steve McQueen's on the street right there. He goes, yeah, it's always celebrities. What? It's always celebrities. That's Steve McQueen. So the bus stops, and we get out and we cross over, and then we walk back to the club. And he was there, and we said, hey, Steve. And he said, hey, guys. We walked in. I didn't want to bother him or nothing. We just walked in the club. And so I started. Another time I saw Marlon Brando walking around there when the bus was coming, down Crenshaw. And I saw Marlon Brando walking in, and it just was amazing. Muhammad Ali, Diana Ross, just a lot of stars went to that club. And we were playing there. I wasn't playing yet. I didn't get a gig yet, but I always went with Tony and watched his band, the Rhythm Rebellion, play. And I really wanted to be with them, but they had a bass. They couldn't fire the bass player and just put me in. So, but Alonzo and some of the guys at the club, they let me hang around because Tony vouched for me, and Bobby's a good bass player, and get him a gig with something. So eventually I did get a gig playing with a group called the Rainbows, and it was 3 girls, and they sang and did moves, and they were all gorgeous, beautiful black girls, and they were hot. I love the Rainbows. And so I played with them for a while. But let me get back to this. Billy Preston was also one of the famous people that came in there and hung out. And so I guess maybe it was maybe about 6 or 8 months later, I finally got a chance to replace Lonnie. And I was playing with the Rhythm Rebellion then. And we would play Friday and Saturday nights. And Billy came in one night and we were playing. And Billy liked us. I mean, he came up to us after the set and he said, "Hey, look, you guys, I love you guys." He said, "Can you guys come to my house tomorrow? I wanna come over and jam with you because I need a band and I want to see how we work together." And we were like, "Yeah, of course we'll be there." Next day we got on the bus, zoom, 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 up to Billy Preston's house. And we go in and he's got equipment there already and we set up and we start playing. And Billy loved it. And we, the first recording we did with Billy was "Nothing from nothing leaves nothing." So we ended up at A&M in the studio recording with Billy, and we became Billy's band for about a year or two. But one day I was at home, watching, Bewitched or something on the TV, sitting on the couch, and the phone rang, and my sister said, "Bobby, phone for you." And I go, "Who is it?" She goes, "Pick up the phone. Somebody's calling you. Pick up the phone." So I picked up the phone. "Hello?" It was Billy. Billy said, "Bobby, I want you guys to come over to A&M Studios tomorrow night. I'm having a little party and I want you guys to all come. We're going to jam and we're going to drink some wine and just hang out. Can you make it?" I said, "Yeah, I'll be there, Billy. No problem. Let me call Tony." He said, "I already called Tony." Next day, Tony and I, so we left at 3. We get up to Sunset and La Brea. We get off the bus and we walk back to the A&M lot. And the guard gate is there and we tell the guard, "Hey, Bobby Watson, Tony Maiden." And we have our guitars in bags on our show. Musicians to Billy Preston, to see Billy Preston. And he goes, "Oh, okay, you're on the list. Come on in." So Tony and I are walking in the A&M parking lot and we're walking towards the studio. And I look and I see this long, beautiful, black, brand new Rolls Royce limousine. And I go, "Tony, look at that." And we're both like, "Wow, beautiful. Wonder who's here. I wonder if it's, I forget who the president was then." We were thinking the president of the U.S. was at A&M Records, but it wasn't the president. And then we get closer to the car, and then I see, oh, look at that. There's some Mickey Mouse decals. There's Pluto. There's Donald Duck on the back window. We go, "Oh, what stupid person would take a brand new Rolls Royce stretch limousine and put Mickey Mouse decals all over the windows? Oh my God, what, they ruined the car?" And then we got up to the door and there was a guy there, with a walkie-talkie and, suit and, badge and gun and stuff. We were like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Who are you?" We said, "Well, we're Bobby Watson, Tony Maiden, Billy Preston invited us." He goes, he checked something and he goes, "All right, come on in, you're allowed." So he let us come in and we walk in. When you go into A&M Studios, this Studio B, I think was Studio B, is on the right. So we walk in and we turn right and we went out in the studio. So we're out in the studio. "Manuel, hey, what's going on?" And so, yeah, Billy's here. And Billy's in the studio with George. I go, Billy's in the studio with George? And I go, okay. So I go over to my bass chair and I take my bass out and plug it in and I turn around. Finally, I look through the glass in the control room and I see the engineer, I see Billy Preston, I see this tall white guy, and I see George Harrison from the Beatles. And then all of a sudden, everything started to add up. The limousine with the Mickey Mouse stickers all over it, the extra security, and can't go in the control room. You got to go out to the main studio. And George Harrison is there. That's why. George he didn't participate. He didn't come out and meet us and say hi or take pictures or anything. He was just in there with Billy. But the guy that was with him, the tall guy, he did come out and he came over to me and started talking. He was a bass player, and he looked at my bass. He goes, "Oh, you got a 64 precision bass." I go, "Yeah, I got this bass. This is my baby. I play it everywhere. It's hard earned, And he goes, "Yeah, I have one too. I don't know what year. I think mine is a later year than yours, but I have one too that I use for my sessions." I go, "Yeah, you play. Do you play with George?" He said, "Yeah, I play with George, and sometimes I play with John Lennon too." I go, "Yeah, man. Nice to meet you. What's your name?" Klaus Vorman. "Okay, nice to meet you, man. Really nice guy, really sweet guy. I think he's Swedish or Danish or something, but yeah." And I checked him out later. He can play, that guy. He's not he ain't no fluke. He's a solid, good feel, good tone bass player, Klaus Vorman.
Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine girls, no country.
So I got to meet him that night. Couldn't meet George Harrison. He never came in. And then George did finally leave with all the security, and Billy came out and ordered food, and we jammed and ate and had a good time. And then we had to get somebody to give us a ride home because the bus didn't run after midnight. So that's my George Harrison story and my Roger Troutman story. All right, you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll put up some more.